So Elon Musk recently sat down for this really wide-ranging hour-and-a-half conversation, and it went everywhere from social media to the end of work, all the way to the fundamental nature of reality itself. So what we're going to do here is distill the core ideas from that entire interview into one focused explainer. We're going to trace his logic, starting with his plans for a social media app and following it all the way to the very fabric of our universe.
And let's just jump right in with what is probably his boldest prediction. Musk truly believes that in less than 2 decades, maybe even just 10 or 15 years, the whole idea of working for a living is going to become a choice. Like a hobby, not something you have to do. That is a huge, huge claim. So how in the world does he get there? Well, the journey starts somewhere you might not expect.
Believe it or not, it all starts with the social media platform X. To really get a handle on Musk's grand vision, you first have to understand what he wants to do with what he calls the global town square.
Okay, so this slide really gets to the core of why he bought Twitter in the first place. He basically felt that the platform was amplifying what he calls a far-left ideology, something rooted in a very specific San Francisco worldview, and he points to the fact that it led to suspending a lot of voices on the right. His goal for X? To create a more centrist platform that just follows the laws of whatever country it's in, without putting, as he says, a thumb on the scale.
But, the ambition here goes way beyond just being a balanced town square. The ultimate vision is to build a single, unified digital space, an everything app, kind of like WeChat in China. Just imagine one single place where you talk to your friends, get all your news, and handle your entire financial life. This isn't just about making things easier, it's about building the bedrock, the information and economic layer for everything he thinks comes next.
And this is where the vision just blows up in scale. We shift from the very concrete idea of an app to Musk's predictions for the entire future of human labor and society. This is how we get back to that massive prediction we started with.
And he actually lays out a pretty clear timeline. You can see it here. We start today where, work is absolutely necessary for most of us, but he predicts that over the next 10 to 15 years, AI and robotics are going to accelerate so fast that in less than 20 years, we hit this major turning point where work truly becomes optional, something you do because you want to, not because you have to.
So that's the big question, isn't it? A world without jobs? It sounds like pure science fiction. How could our economy possibly even function like that?
Well, his answer is that AI and robotics are going to create an age of just pure abundance. They'll be able to produce any goods, any services you can possibly imagine, pretty much on demand. So we're not talking about a universal basic income, just enough to get by. He's talking about a universal high income in a world where scarcity is a thing of the past. Now, this solves the problem of having enough stuff for sure, but it brings up an even deeper challenge. What gives us a sense of purpose? And this is where it all ties together. All of these different projects, from creating a global information network like X to pushing AI forward, they're all driven by this one big, overarching philosophical goal. And it all boils down to enhancing humanity's collective consciousness.
He basically sees all of humanity as one giant superorganism. And the better the quality and the faster the information flowing between all of us, the individual cells of this organism, the higher our total intelligence and awareness becomes.
Okay, but why? Why is that the all-important goal? Why build all these massive companies just to make information flow better? What's the point?
This slide really breaks down his logic by just scaling the idea up. So think about it. A single cell has very limited awareness, right? But put 30 trillion of them together, communicating perfectly, and you get a human being with a much higher level of consciousness. Okay, take it one step further. A single human can't build a spaceship. It's impossible. But a whole civilization, a collection of humans with really good information flow, they absolutely can. It's all about scaling up consciousness to do bigger and bigger things.
And the ultimate purpose of all this is pretty profound. By cranking up our collective consciousness, we don't just get better gadgets and tech. We get better at understanding reality itself. We learn how to ask the right questions about the universe, which he sees as the answer to, a question we don't even know yet.
In that whole quest to understand reality, it leads us to the final, and frankly, the most mind-bending part of his entire worldview, the idea that there's a pretty high probability that we're living inside a computer simulation.
His main argument here is actually super simple, and it's based on a trend we've all seen. 50 years ago, the coolest video game was Pong. It was literally 2 rectangles in a square. Today, we have photorealistic, massive multiplayer games that are getting harder and harder to tell apart from reality.
So this brings up the next logical question, right? If you just extend that trend into the future, eventually technology will be able to create billions, maybe trillions, of simulations that are completely indistinguishable from the real world. So if there are billions of simulated realities out there and only one original, base reality, what are the odds that we just happen to be in the original one?
For him, the answer is pretty clear. He thinks the probability that we're in a simulation is, in his words, pretty high.
This isn't just a fun thought experiment for him, it's the logical conclusion you reach when you follow the path of technology. And his final thought on this is kind of like a Darwinian evolution, but for simulations. The idea is that any simulations that are boring probably just get shut down. The ones that get to keep running, they're the interesting ones. Therefore, the most interesting outcome, like the complex, dramatic, and fascinating reality we all experience, is also the one that's most likely to exist. A pretty wild idea to end on.